Hello, in today's video we're going to be talking about how to divide our code into different modules. We will be talking about the top-down design method, and we'll also go over the different components of simple methods. And to do this, we're going to be looking at the code that we have written for our Jackbot application. More specifically, we're going to be looking at the play picture box click event handler, and we refer to this method as an event handler simply because it handles the event of a click. So whenever the user clicks on this button, we handle that click event by executing this set of statements. So within this method, we see here that we have several statements that will be executed, and in general, in the real world, when we're trying to write up applications, methods sometimes tend to become very lengthy and very complex. So the way to handle that is to divide and conquer. So whenever we have a problem, instead of solving it all within the same method, we can create several methods to each handle a specific function from within the method itself. And let's see how we can do that. So in here, let's look at the different actions that happen within this event handler. So whenever the user clicks on this button, this is what we do. We create a number that we display on the screen, and then we check whether the user wins or loses. So we have basically two different functions, and we can divide up this method into two different methods instead of having one long one. So we're going to be creating two different methods, and this is the way to create methods. It's going to be very similar to the one that we have, and we're going to call our first method display number. So this is how our method, or our first method, is going to look like. And you have guessed that our first method will display the number on the screen. So we're going to get all of this code right here and write it into this method down here. Now note in this method we have a header. So this is the header of the method, and this is our body. This is the body of the method. In our header, we have several parts. We have the keyword private, and that means that this method can only be used within this specific class. So any method right here within this class can use this display number method. If we change this keyword to say public, then any class from within our application could be using the same method. So we can use this exact same method from any class in our application. For now, we will make it private, so that way it is only visible to methods within the same class. And then we have the void keyword. The void keyword simply refers to what the function returns, and we're going to be talking about that in more detail in upcoming videos. For now, just note that we are using this void keyword to note that this function is not, or this method is not returning anything. The next part of our header is the name of our method, and usually we use our Pascal naming convention that is very similar to how we name variables in C#, and we usually start with a capital letter. And you want your name for the method to reflect what the method does. In this case, this method is displaying a number on the screen, and that is why we called our method display number. It's always a good idea to pick names for our methods that describe the functionalities of the method. And then we use parentheses. Again, we're going to be talking a little bit more about what goes into these parentheses a little bit later. For now, this is very similar to your methods, to your common methods that you've been using before, like the parse method, for example. You need to use parentheses, and this is just because this is a method and we might be passing arguments to it later. For this specific simple method, it's a void method. It's not returning anything and it's not taking anything. So the only functionality or the only action that is performed within this method is to create random numbers and display our digits on the screen. So now let's see how this works. We click and we see here that our number did not display on the screen. Well, this is because in our event handler, so this is what happens whenever the user clicks on the play picture box, we do not tell the code to call this method. So we need to go back and make a call to this method. So now what we're doing is telling the code, hey, go to this method and execute any statements that are inside or within this specific method. Now let's try it again. And now it works perfectly. So let's go back and create a new method, and this time we're going to create a method to score the user, to let the user know whether they won or they lose. So let's cut this whole entire code and we're going to paste it within a new method. And we're going to call this method is score method. And note here that the names of the methods are usually verbs or actions. That is because we are describing an action or functionality that is within this exact method or this method. So here we can call it score user. Well, anything that would let us know what this method is doing. And this is for more readability. So whenever you have several people working on the same code or for the same developer. So if you are developing some code and then you come back and try to read your code months later, it would be very useful to have names for your methods that describe what the method is doing. That way you can go back and read your code and understand what you were trying to do there. All right, so again, we have our method. Now we call our method from within our event handler. So now whenever the user clicks on the play picture box, first we display the number and then we score the user. All right, and our methods now work perfectly and our code is much cleaner. If we look at our event handler, it only includes the call to two methods, and each method describes a specific functionality, and this is what we refer to as divide and conquer. That is dividing the problem into several smaller subsets. So instead of handling all or trying to solve the entire problem within the same method, we divide that into several subtasks that are easier to understand and that are smaller when it comes to number of statements. All right, and that concludes our video for today. I hope that has been helpful and see you next time.